Illicit software use. This is an important control against cybersecurity threats because, as you know, illicit software, especially downloaded from, let's just call it the wrong places, might indeed contain certain malicious code, malware within that software, which would, create problems for the organization. It could be introducing, say, Trojans within the company network. And so software piracy is definitely problematic. It's the illegal copying or distribution of software. But say, this actually includes things that you might think are a little bit more, innocent than what this picture implies. It could be including breaching software license terms, say by, distributing the software to more users than the license allows. And this actually happens in organizations that otherwise, would seem to, completely be against piracy. But what I have unfortunately seen in some organizations, the two most common things of so-called software, piracy, is indeed allowing more users than the license allows, or extending the use of license past the date at which it would usually expire. And indeed, there are some, some software, just does not properly turn off after use, and technically you're in breach, but the software wouldn't block you from using it. You're still technically, illicitly using the software. In other cases, the software might block you from using it after its time of use, but then there are different ways of, say, changing the clock on your computer, or, manipulating the code in a software, or using certain, programs to actually, trick the program so as to allow its use for longer. Now, this is already getting into, kind of a little hacking, which, definitely, we understand that is problematic. But our first two examples of simply, using too many users or for too long, unfortunately actually happens in organizations more than one might actually assume. So what can we do against this? First of all, operating systems can block the installation of software without administrator privileges. And I'd like to say this is relatively easy for an IT department to actually set this up for all computers on their network when they, create a new Windows account or a Linux account or Apple account. Then, they can simply say, who has the right to, say, install new programs. And so I think this is generally in place. What is, however, not always in place is software installation restrictions should also include extensions. Now, I don't know what browser you're actually allowed to use within your organization, but think that, on applications such as, Google's Chrome, that's a browser, or Teams, a communication device that you're familiar with, I'm sure. These allow different extensions, or under Teams they call them apps. Now, they're not always well controlled and could include, some cybersecurity risks to them. Google does not necessarily verify everything on its Chrome extensions, and there have been cases of malicious software within, say, Chrome extensions. And this is the thing. On this, you could block, every program from installing on Windows, but this does not mean that it would block the installation of Chrome extensions or, say, Team apps. I also want you to know that Chrome extensions, a lot of them, you can simply have an extension which is a notepad shared between all your different, devices and computers that have Chrome on it. And so think as an IT, security administrator, you are trying to block, say, the copying of data from one device to another. But if you can simply create a Chrome extension in which you're copying, the data, putting it onto the Chrome extension, and then someone goes home and, opens up their Chrome browser and gets access to that information, it makes it a lot more difficult. And I'm signaling out, this Google product, but I'd like to say that this is the case for, well, I don't want to say all applications, but it is much wider than this, single software product here. So definitely you should think about the risks associated with this. As an internal auditor, you should verify this. This should be easy to verify within your organization. Devices could be tampered to allow the installation of illicit software. So on phones, this is called jailbreaking. Jailbreaking means that you are breaking the software system on a certain phone to allow the installation of third-party applications, which, say, are not from the Apple store, but, are applications that are created by third parties, potentially with different cyber risks on them. Finally, I'd just like to make a little bit of a distinction between illicit and illegal. Illegal means that it is barred by laws. You could technically, face a regulatory fine due to illegal use or, a breach of contract. Illicit is a bit more vague and includes things that are just not ethical to do, and certain software manufacturers actually, I'm thinking of WinZip, actually, say that you are using, this product past its commercial license, past its trial period, but then it's a known fact of this organization that they give that message, but then you still have full functionality on the product. And it's for that organization to kind of, become a widespread product. But since it is technically, illicit, not illegal, because they're never going to pursue you, it is technically illicit. Commercial companies will, be tempted to pay that license for say that, WinZip product, whereas, anyone who actually knows that, well, the product fully works past the date at which it is supposed to, expire.